It is not often that we think of how the goods we purchase for daily use end up on the shelves of our favorite supermarkets. The entity most responsible for the legal processes of clearing goods and cargo that enter and leave Belize is the Customs and Excise Department. It is the responsibility of the Customs Department to receive and process clearance documents and inspect and release the goods, ensuring that all applicable taxes and duties are paid. The taxes and duties play a big role in determining government's ability to provide the services necessary to the entire country. This role is of vital economic importance with direct relations to the government's trade, fiscal, and social responsibilities. An efficient and effective customs allows government to achieve its objectives in respect to revenue collection, facilitating trade, and the protection of society from various national security concerns. The growing realization of countries worldwide, customs organizations, and the global trading community has forced the modernization of processes towards more efficient and transparent procedures. Customs objectives to yield increased revenue collection, improve statistics, and boost confidence among traders propels the reforms and modernizations that are evident worldwide. Belize is no exception, and over the past years, a series of reform measures have taken place.
And Customs, as one of the key agencies having to do with imports and revenue, is poised to contribute to that reform process. And so the reform and the modernization and the capacity building that is being undertaken should at the end of the day place Belize on par with the rest of the world, both in services, in efficiency, in transparency, in accountability.
The implementation of the Customs Reform and Modernization Project will set Belize on par with other countries that have assessed the performance of their systems, retaining what works and revamping those processes that have been deemed antiquated, anti-progress, costly, and inefficient. The changing pace and methodologies for doing business in the private sector has set a high bar and rightfully demand government agencies and departments to respond.
Also, it is important that government be able to keep pace and try to bridge the digital divide that occurs, that is in place between government and private sector. By that, we mean further utilization and more utilization of information and communication technology. That is an integral part of modern business. The private sector utilizes information and communication technology to order their goods, to keep track of inventory, to track their goods from the suppliers until it reaches our country. These monies that these private sector entities invest are substantial, and they bring pressure on government departments and customs administration to be able to match, for want of a better word, those type of investment.
Indeed, an investment that can only accrue benefits on the macro scale. World Bank reports cite a 1% cost increase for doing business for every day that goods are held up at a port. While any action to reduce the cost of transactions is certainly a welcoming change, the government of Belize will derive tremendous benefits for meeting its world trade obligations to accommodate the free flow of international trade.
We are a member of regional organizations like CCLEC, Caribbean Law Enforcement Council. We also are responsible to ensure that the movement of goods under CSME, CARICOM Single Market Economy, that there's a free movement of goods within member states. We are members of World Trade Organization. We are also, but what we are most proud of is our most recent membership that we acquired in 2008, and that is a member of the World Customs Organization. Government planning revolves around international trade and international trade data. The system, the Asikuda World program that we are implementing, will enhance government ability to capture trade data, and planning to a large extent depends on trade data. If you don't have reliable trade data, it's difficult to plan ahead.
The modernization plan for the Customs Department requires 18 months of work, and $5.8 million investment from the Caribbean Development Bank and the government of Belize. The main objectives of the reform plan include strengthening local capacity, improved clearance processes, improved documentation review and clearances, and improved security for the trading supply chain. The project commenced in February of 2009, and with the completion of the prototype, the pilot phase is about to be launched.
To get this project along, we have to first set up the prototype. We have to set up the prototype and implement the prototype. This is the test phase of the Asecura World system. Asecura stands for Automated System for Customs Data, and we are now implementing the latest version of Asecura called Asecura World.
The utilization of this system is reflected in about 80 countries worldwide, including our fellow Caribbean single market and economy countries. For Belize, the automated system for customs data was first introduced in 1994. This system was used primarily for declaration processing and accounting. The reform project and implementation of Asecura World will now transform this semi-computerized process to one fully automated and will allow for the configuration of national characteristics while meeting international codes and standards developed by the International Organization of Standards, World Customs Organization, and the United Nations. The new system computerizes customs management systems, including customs declarations, accounting procedures, calculation of taxes and duties, transit and examination procedures, clearance of manifests, generation of much-needed economic planning data, and covers most foreign trade procedures. The project is designed for a phased rollout, with Belize City, the country's largest seaport, being the first to experience implementation. This will allow for the Customs Department to test the new system and make necessary amendments to facilitate smooth implementation at the other ports of entry.
Before taxes and duties can be paid on this item, there has to be a process where the goods are valued, invoices and relevant documents are produced, the goods are checked, documentation are checked by customs, the declaration is processed, and an assessment is made on the values so that the taxes and duties can be identified. Once the taxes and duties have been ascertained, they must be paid to the cashier, and the process is then headed towards clearing to get your receipt after your cargo. The implementation of Asecura World in Belize is phased, and it means that we will do the implementation of the prototype in Belize City first. That is expected to be completed within the next 2 months, and this will mean that the biggest port is completed, and we'll have learned a lot of lessons from the biggest port.
But specifically, just how will this new system facilitate the efficient release of cargo?
With Asecura World, the broker takes full responsibility for most of the clearance process. It starts with the broker logging on to the Asecura World system through a predefined user account. He accesses the system and starts to input his declaration. The system has various checks and balances, things that need to be verified, and he has to make sure every step of the inputting is verified, or the system will not allow him or her to proceed further until each part is clarified. So once he has passed through the various inputting and everything is okay, he verifies that it's okay. A button on the system allows him to do a basic check, and he now has to assess the declaration.
The new system, we wouldn't have an invoice section as such. The broker or the importer, if he can do his own declaration, logs on to Asecura World via the internet and input the declaration, and does his assessment of the declaration, verifies the declaration, assesses declaration, get an assessment number, registration number, and prints a copy of the declaration for customs, and then he comes to customs cashier after all of that process. So the whole invoice process with all those people, that's erased. 24 hours before the vessel arrives now, with the new system, they're supposed to store the manifest, so it's no longer paper. They are supposed to go in the Asekuda World system and store the manifests and the way bills. But when the ship arrives, then they need to go in, register the manifest, and then that manifest becomes legal to customs, and they get a registration number.
For the convenience and ease of importers and their representatives, declaration assessment and registration will now be conducted online, and by the completion of the project, payments are also expected to be done online. Perhaps the most valuable feature of the system for the achievement of improved transparency and accountability is the manner in which the examination process is managed. Customs Reform Project Director refers to this process as triggering selectivity.
The new system employs risk management and selectivity, where now an officer can trigger selectivity. Through the use of selectivity, the system will review the document quickly and determine what clearance channel this declaration will get. Simply means that it will determine whether the declaration must now go through an examination phase where the goods must be examined in detail, or it will determine whether the goods will require further documentary check, or it will determine if the goods can be released without any physical examination, and one more, it will allow the goods to be released pending another examination or a future examination of your documents at the importer's premises. The reason for that is that it takes away from the officer having to make that decision on who examines what is examined. It removes that subjectivity from the officer and makes it very transparent. There is a new team that also will be coming online soon. It will be called a selectivity unit, and their responsibility will be to build the criterion into the system. And this criterion will be built through various things such as where the goods are coming from, source countries, importers. They'll be building a profile of the importers, and this profile will be continually updated. Once declaration has been examined, the results must be fed back into the system so that the criterion continues to be built and continues to be updated.
Definitely an update representing faster clearance time and reduced cost of doing business, which will create goodwill and improve collaboration between the department and its private sector users, as well as public sector partners requiring data for economic planning and projections.
Asekuda World is designed that it will be one system for the whole country, for whatever type of port. Of course, there will be some modifications for some areas, but it will essentially be the same process for the whole country. And this is an important step for customs because of the various types of customs stations we have been forced over the years to ensure that each has a different way of doing things. But what we found and what customs is trying to move from is that you, an importer, have to deal with so many different procedures for clearing goods. You deal with one procedure in Belize City, and when you get to Corozal, you have to go through a major change trying to deal with another procedure. What Asekuda World is trying to do now is to ensure that when wherever port you go to in Belize, the procedure is basically the same. It will definitely cut down in time a lot. And who will see this cut down in time more realistically would be the statistics department, because we provide the statistics for the country, and the government uses that information to make its policy decisions. Definitely, the reduction in clearance time is of great importance to them, because the quicker they can get the goods cleared, that will translate into reduced costs in getting the goods on the shelf. So that's one of the most important things. To customs, of course, we have less complaints because the importer has his goods on the shelf also. But we're also looking at the system is forcing more compliance, more payment of revenue. Another very important thing change that will come about because of Asecura World is the fact that the containers that previously were examined at an importer's premises will no longer be examined outside the compound. It will all be examined in the port compound.
Proper inspection of goods on the compound, swift release of goods and lowering costs of transactions, while allowing the human resources of the department to be more meaningfully deployed, away from routine manual processes to essential monitoring, evaluation, and examination. All this as the department implements a process that includes broad education and training to ensure a change that benefits all users. Importers and exporters are called upon to have an open mind to the reform measures and take advantage of all the department's e-training. So far, some 150 customs brokers have been trained, along with employees of the Customs Department and other stakeholders.
First, we're requiring that you get some training on the system, how to understand the Asecura World system, and how to log into the system. Once we're happy with that, we're also certifying the brokers. In a few weeks, they'll be, in a week, they'll be taking a certification exam just to prove that they know how to access the system. Then we issue a username and password. You have your documents, your documentation available immediately. This means you must have your invoices, all the other particulars for your declaration to process. In the past, the importers tend to use the excuse of not having documents or documents not having arrived in time. But this is no longer an issue. This is the modern age where documents can be received in a heartbeat through email, through various electronic mediums. So that's no longer an excuse. So have your documentation ready. Have all your invoices processed, have those documents. Another very key feature is to make sure you have licenses and exemptions before you present your declaration to customs. This is another of the areas where delays occur and the importer tends to put the blame on customs.
I think the brokers welcome this new system. They are seeing it as a way not to have to come and deal with the frustration. Some of them see frustration to deal with the custom as far as the paperwork is concerned. So to them, it's a welcome system, especially with the ones that are already familiar with the computer. To some that don't have the knowledge, computer knowledge, they are kind of shying away from it, but because they know that it's something that they have to do, then they are trying their best to get with the new system. For officers, the one that we have trained already, they are also very enthusiastic about using this new system as well.
The new system is expected to be online within the new financial year in Belize City and no later than the financial year of 2011 countrywide. It will be fully equipped with safety features and guarantees for positive contributions to fiscal and economic processes.
Asecura World has several phases of security. Security is built into the operating system, it's built into the application environment, which is designed on top of the operating system.
The program, to a large extent, removes the human factor, removes the discretion which can contribute to abuse, and places processes that are independent of human intervention and directs the emphasis based on statistics, profiles, etc., which will result in enhanced revenue collection. The mere freedom of removing the perception, the personalities, the tendency to personalize transactions, and the ability to provide service to the public at large